The image is penetrated. I put that on my life. I'm glad you never made it. Rawhide, all in my bloodline. You never find a drug like me.
Do you think, as far as like newcomers are concerned, putting out the the other stuff and listeners as well, you think? I mean, do you think somebody who doesn't really appreciate hip hop as hip hop, right, should be appreciated? People who don't know history, like new cats, do you think they benefit from hearing something like this, like especially this CD? Because as far as I'm concerned, I didn't really know too much about him, and up until I listened to this CD and I started asking you questions and I started learning about him, I actually wanted to learn more. Okay. And that's the reason for the interview. So I think I benefit, and I've been doing this for a long time, so I wouldn't even consider myself as a new artist, but I think as far as I'm concerned, I'm benefiting from it. Just giving me more knowledge and a little bit more respect for different artists like him. Okay.
Well, I hope, whatever I do, to have some kind of positive, ripple effect. I don't want to take away from the game. A lot of people pimp hip hop and use it for selfish means, and that's how you ruin the game. You got to give something back. If you're gonna pimp, you had to have been a hoe, to really know how the game goes, right? I mean, it gives you a full perspective. So if you're gonna pimp the game, you gotta, know what it's like to be a hoe in the game. If that's how you want to use that frame of, thinking. You think you're gonna pimp something, okay, well, you should know how it is to be a hoe before you get into being a pimp. Or if you want to be a boss, the best bosses know what it's like to be a worker. They know what it's like to start from the bottom, be a foot soldier, be a frontline warrior, but then be a general. The generals, those are the best generals, because they ain't afraid to get on the front lines again. They ain't afraid to get dirty. So I just think with my mix CD, I hope that it can, not only educate people about Andre Nickatina, who I respect so much because of his business. He's an excellent role model in terms of hip-hop business. And his story is amazing because his fan base and the loyalty of the people, who buy his music and support him is just unreal. He's similar to from Strange Music. What's his name? From Kansas City?
Tech Nine.
Tech Nine. They have very loyal, unwavering fan bases, and I know, with Nickatina, as he's elevated in his years as a legend in the game, he's kind of changed his demeanor and got more into like pimp talking, pimp rapping, but it's not like that's something new to him. Once again, he grew up in Fillmore, which is one of the capitals of pimping, the Bay Area period. And so it's something he grew up and saw, but it's something he can, convey, or chooses to convey, with his lyrics now more frequently. Talking about females and talking about being an OG player in the game. And he never would use that terminology, but that's the kind of spit he's spitting. So there's some richness to his story. So what I would hope, if the CD could do anything for people to listen to it, is that they would, study how he did what he did. He was never a dummy. He was never a fool.
So he can learn something.
Yeah, at least learn something about your game, man. Don't play yourself cheap. And he'd never done that, and other artists hadn't either. Too Short is brilliant too. These guys had control of their lifestyle and their artistry, but then again, they come from the hustlers era. They come from the era of crack cocaine. They come up growing up and seeing and surviving the '80s, which I feel bad for people who didn't get to see that and survive it, because if you survive the '80s in certain areas like the Bay Area, LA, New York, Miami, certain places that we knew growing up, even Hilltop in Tacoma and the east side of Tacoma, if you survived in parts of Seattle, but nothing hit it like it. Even the Washingtons would never, no place in Washington was affected, or the Northwest was affected like the Bay and LA, and that's why I think you have that significant difference in these hustlers and how they produce and we're independent with their music. Like the Bay Area is the innovator with music. So you can learn, you don't have to have survived and lived through the 80s, but you look at these warriors who did make it through and are still doing music and see, just follow their pattern. You know, it's useful, it works. E40 is another example. These guys got brains and hustle and they execute it, you know what I'm saying? Like precisely, like sniper style. So, you know, if there's nothing else I learned, I grew up in a gang-infested area. I grew up in LA where our culture was gang culture and still is. And then I later, you know, I was born in the Bay and later got to go to the Bay and soak in the Bay from OGs like Nick Peace and Andre and Crypto and, you know, other people, Mike Marshall, and just, you know, gather in how they survived and they still hustle. They still keep it moving. And that's, you know, I mean, there's a lot to me. Tone Capone, the legendary producer. So, you know, you got 2 ears and 1 mouth. And people may have heard it or not, but, you know, you should listen twice as much as you talk. And that's worked for me. You know, I listen to elders and OGs and hear what they got to share with me. Because I don't want to have to learn the hard way if I don't have to, right? So if people check out the mixtape, you know, hopefully there's just a theme to it or you gather some kind of pattern from it. And every mixtape should be different. But, you know, there's certain formulas that work. You know, you want to let people know who you are. You want to, you know, respect the artists who you're using on there because, you know, who you're not using. Or maybe some people are using them, but you want to respect the artists who you're featuring and, you know, put them up and align yourself with some quality. You know, it's easier to throw stuff out, but, you know, with the effort it took to produce this CD, you know, choosing like 80 tracks and breaking them down to like 20, you know what I'm saying, and seeing how they go together and putting in the drops in the right places, you know, it's not there's no perfect one formula to it, but quality and effort and a little bit of research always pays off, you know what I mean?
Flatline, DJ Luvva J holding it down live from my 5, the Legends Edition, featuring Andre Nickatina.